Australian esports has gone for now, but I don't think it's gone forever. A few weeks ago, I made some content about how Australian esports has pulled back to almost nothing. DreamHack's gone, IEM hasn't been re-announced, even after it got massive government funding and completely sold out. And here's how I think these massive events could come back under the right conditions. Because if there's one thing that's always been true about Australian esports, it's the fans show up, the crowds go wild, and people have a great time. Every single IEM Sydney and Melbourne event has either been sold out or had an awesome crowd. So, what needs to happen? First, timing with the global circuit. IEM runs a packed schedule across Europe, Asia, and the Americas. Australia needs to slot back in without blowing up the travel budget or changing the calendar too much. Secondary is commercial brand interest. When DreamHack died, it showed how fragile the sponsor confidence is. To bring IEM back, brands need a clear path to ROI, not just hype. And it's something that we've talked about so much before in esports. Let's say there's a new massive brand who's from the mainstream, like a Toyota or a JB Hi-Fi or a Harvey Norman that really wants to get into the space. They're going to back it with the big bucks, and that's a great reason for an event like this to come back. Thirdly is government funding. DreamHack's deal with the Victorian state government proved that public money can make these events possible, but that funding needs to be reignited and protected if we want the circuit to return. It was announced that a multi-year deal was signed before, but now that there's no events being announced, I've heard that that funding has now lapsed and disappeared. So these events have never struggled to sell tickets. They've just struggled to make the logistics and the costs add up. Flying teams, staff, and equipment halfway around the world is brutally expensive. I made some content previously on LinkedIn talking about it, but they would have spent over $1 million just flying everybody in and looking after them. If you think about it, they're flying in 16 teams worth of 5 players, a manager and a coach. They're flying in all of their staff to help do all the production, etc. They're putting them up in nice hotels. They're doing transfers. They're giving them food. That's not including all the security, the stage setup, hiring the venue, and looking after the journalists and everything else that's in between that. It's an enormously expensive endeavor. So if the timing, sponsorship, and funding from the government all line up, then Australia would absolutely get another IEM. But until then, we're just waiting for that perfect storm to hit again, and we're waiting for the groundswell to continue. Do you agree with what I've said? I've talked to quite a few people in the background, some people who work at these type of events and other analysts and industry people in this space, and they all seem to agree with me, but I'm interested in hearing what you think.